Hello, beautiful soul family. Welcome to my channel, The Mystical Hummingbird. Um, I must tell you that the last time that I made this video, my first video, I was not very knowledgeable, and I'm not very knowledgeable now about all these technical things. Okay, so I had several people help me. I apologize for the sound last time. It was pretty bad, but I felt it was very necessary for me to still have it out because I couldn't bring myself to making it over again, because I feel that we live in the moment, or at least I live in the moment, and at that moment in time it was perfect for me. And I honor myself. Therefore, I pray that you guys will be understanding and just wear the little earphones or put your TV quite loud so that you could hear it. I'll make sure from now on that the sound will be a lot better. Okay, I've told you a little bit about my background. My name is Viviana, and I welcome you all. I'm doing this indoors now because it has not been possible for me to go outdoors these last couple of days. I'm going to do my best so that I can bring these out at least twice or every other day. I feel it very necessary. I haven't told you much about myself, but I do have dreams. I have that come true, and I have spiritual contact with my spiritual guides through dreams, through books, through music, God or spirit. I like to call them spirit, or also, actually, my favorite name to call the creator is my very own personal lion of sorts. Since I was little, I used to call him that. And it was just something very personal for me. And I must say that when I saw the movie from C.S. Lewis, Narnia, I actually read the first book many, many, many years ago. And I was very impressed about this lion that spoke. And ever since then, I didn't read the book when I was little. I read the book when I was already an adult. So it made a big impression on me, and I thought, I used to call God, the creator, Leon in Spanish, because I speak Spanish too. And it was kind of cute in a way to think, oh, I can still call him that, because it just fits perfectly. I have a very wide imagination. I have dreams that are very vivid, and sometimes when I meditate, because I practice meditation, I leave sometimes my body, and I experience another world that sometimes it makes it difficult to be in this world. Nevertheless, I'm here, and I feel prompted to do this channel, and I am, like I said before, I will in a way address my mind, my heart to you all, so that I can share with you the path that I've taken for so many years up to today, and the things that have happened to me that have created me, that are creating me to the person that I'm becoming. I call this channel Mystical Hummingbird because ever since I was little, I never felt that I fitted anywhere. I felt like the black sheep of the family sorts. And I have a very close connection with birds and actually all animals, but mostly birds, because they come to me in dreams a lot. And during my meditations, I always see them and they speak to me. There's one specific little hummingbird that comes to my ear and whispers things to me. And in some of the dreams that I've had with them, they have come true, but I won't get to that yet, because right now I'm just letting you know the beginnings, okay? I lived in Chicago with my family many, many years ago. But remember telling you that I went to pick up my little sister with my brother, and she was not being very well taken care of, and I made the decision to stay home and to care for her. I did, and so I did not graduate from high school like normal kids they do. I went to night school to finish. And well, okay, back to the part of the mystical hummingbird. Mystical, I've always felt like an oddball. Like I said, I never really quite fitted anywhere because I was always too intense. And that's a part of me that I finally accepted. And I've done that just, I want to say maybe like 10 years ago, that I finally accepted who I am and actually like and love myself like never before. And you guys, this whole thing is about love. And it's not about the romantic love. Well, it can be, well, later on, but I'm talking about the self-love. Like I mentioned before, when I was little, I was seeking what I was. I wanted to know, well, why am I here? Like, why am I? Like, I love greenery, I love plants, I love nature, so I have to have nature with me. So I have my plants, I carry them everywhere. I love bonsai trees, I just love all kinds of plants. Anyway, because there's life in them. Okay, so I want to express to you how important it is for me that you understand your place in life, wherever you may find yourself. Like, I didn't fit at that time. I couldn't understand where I fitted. I wanted to know what God was and what was the meaning of life. And like I said before, also I mentioned, I am not going to mention any type of religion because there are many religions out there, and I was a part of a couple of them for some years. But I walked away from that because this was my path, and I don't talk about politics. I will not speak about politics here, nor religion, because that's very personal. So in I respect you guys as I respect myself, so let that just be said. When I found out that life is like a garden, my mind is a garden. When I discovered that I had this plot here within me, and this plot of land, of dirt, of an acre, whatever you imagine it to be, that you can plant and unplant and replant and remove. When this was understood by me, and the power that we have within us, because at that time I had no idea that we had any power of any kind. I mean, they don't tell you these things in school or churches or anything. I'm a very orderly person. I like to have things in my mind in order and things around me in order. Sometimes it's not possible, but I try my best to have my thoughts in order. And I made this guideline. I wrote it down, and I thought to myself, well, I can do this, and I will follow this. Well, I had a dream like before I made this video, this is when I made the first video, because I had done this guideline and I was told not to, that I needed to be a conduit, that I needed to just be and let things flow from me. Okay. First of all, I will tell you, all of you, whoever you may be, you are a human being on this earth. And regardless of creed, religion, color, you are beautiful. And you are a part of this planet, of this universe. And you take a space, a very specific space, because you have a specific, to think of the word, you have a process to go through that will take you eventually to where your goal is. Now, if you don't have any goals, if you're just living life like most people, you will find that life, you will just live like anybody else, like with no thoughts, just live. No, if you have consequences or things happen and then you are just not aware of your consciousness. If you are becoming aware, and if you aren't united with your consciousness, like you're close to your thoughts, and I'm going back to this garden, and you think your mind is a garden, then you start thinking, why do I think this way, or why do I like that? I have to tell you, since little, when I began to learn to read and write, I started writing my thoughts down. And since I have dreams all the time, I had many journals and notebooks, and I had things written down. Sometimes it would be just one sentence in the day that I remember writing. The sun was bright. This I remember when I was little. I used to attend nun school in South America. And I am very observant of all things, of people, of the weather, of food, of children, of situations. And I think before I go to sleep, thoughts come to me. What happened that part of the day? I observed this, I saw that, I lived this. How did I feel? How did it make me feel? So I was kind of, without realizing, in a type of a therapy of sorts, without knowing, asking myself questions and trying to figure out what made me tick, what made me be me. Like I said, I always felt like an oddball because I was so deep and I wanted to have answers about everything. I didn't know why the clouds would create, forms. I wanted to know why the seasons had specific times. I wanted to know, for example, why wasn't, for example, summer, instead of summer, that we had winter then, and then we had summer instead of winter. And then I would wonder, well, in parts of the world where I'm at, when I was little, I would think, oh, if it's summer here, and then I see pictures of other places that is really like tropical. I lived in a semi-tropical country, so there were palm trees and it was very lovely and warm. But I'm trying to think, when I saw pictures of, for example, of Antarctica or the Alps in Europe or different places, and filled with snow, and I would wonder, how could it be that it's sunny here and it's snowing there? And no one could answer me these things. And then one of my dreams that I had, I saw and I was little, I remember this still. I was a tiny little girl, and I have a very vivid, like I said, imagination, and also my memory is very good. Although I think I have a memory that just stays with the things that I love, things that make sense to me, things that I like remembering, going back to. But if I don't care, then I just don't mind. Who cares, I had this dream that I was in front of, I love the ocean, by the way. So I'm an ocean girl. So here, imagine the ocean. Beautiful the waves splashing against the rocks, and there was this huge canvas. We're talking, I was little, so maybe it wasn't that big, but it was a kind of big canvas. And I heard in my mind, your life is a canvas. And I thought, a canvas, and I've always liked to draw and paint. So I remember that I didn't have any paint, but I remember taking leaves from different places in there where I was in the dream, and I started to mashing the leaves up with these two rocks and color, and I put water in it, it turned green. You could see they were green, so I thought, oh, I could use this paint. So I was told since little that my life was a canvas, that I could paint my life. And much of my very personal thoughts I've never really shared with anyone. So I am not, like I said, I'm an introvert and I'm an extrovert as well. And this is not unusual for me because I've seen me speaking in dreams to people and sharing my stories and things that happened to me. Back to this dream, the canvas. The universe provided me with paints. I found some dirt, some red dirt. I poured some water, ocean water on it, and I made it right on my hand. I made it, dissolved it, and I began painting with my fingers. I began painting this canvas. So you can paint your life as you will, as I want, and you can put in there whatever you want. This is what it was telling me. So I feel that I've been guided since little to different experiences. And now I go back and tell you, the people that live in this planet, we are not physical beings. Yes, wait a minute. Yes, we are. But before we're physical beings, we're spiritual beings. For when you and I, we are deceased and no longer breathing, your body's laying in the ground. Whether we understand it or not, some of us do. Some people don't understand it. They don't believe that there's an afterlife, and that's okay. But there is an afterlife. We are spirit, and therefore we are spiritual beings, but we're spiritual beings having a physical experience. And this physical experience can be anything that you choose it to be. Now, that's where part of the power lies, so what we do with this life, okay? Okay. When we dedicate ourselves to transforming our thoughts, our life, or situations, before we do anything, we need to transform this here, because everything is in here. We're this computer that has all these, like you have a computer and we have all the programs, and we want to delete stuff, and we go ahead and delete it. And then you recreate a new program, or you don't put anything back in there. This is how our mind works. Our mind is a garden. And there's just such vastness of things to discover, and the awe of life itself. I'm like a kid. All kinds of things, they keep me at awe. Like when I wake up in the mornings, I think, oh, what are we going to do today? I don't want to speak too much about my personal life right now, but I am a caretaker / partners to someone, and I enjoy and I love this job. I was brought here by spirit, by the Creator, and I'll get to that story later on. But what I want you to understand right now, that it's very important for us, for you, that you have a belief in yourself, that you create a new life for yourself. If you're having an amazing life, then continue to have an amazing life. But if you feel lost and you don't know what to do, go inside yourself. For within us is the treasure house. I had one time, many years ago, I read somewhere something like it's better to be hated for what you are than to be loved for what you are not. And I believe it was Kurt Cobain that said this. One of my favorite groups too, Nirvana. It's very important that we do and be authentic with ourselves, so that what we bring out to the world is ourselves, not something with a mask. And to be so authentic that you are not afraid of what people will think of you. Like, who cares? Who cares what people are entitled to their opinion? Like, you're entitled to think or whatever you want to think of me, what I'm doing here, what the hell is she doing in there? What is she talking about? Yeah. Well, it's important for me to talk about what I'm talking about, and I am happy and grateful that I live in a country so far that we can have at least this type of freedom so far. I'm grateful for this, and I will take advantage of that while we have this. To have freedom of speech is a blessing. For me, life itself is a blessing. I want to tell you that your mind, your garden that we have been given, not very many people understand that they have a garden that they're in control of. I don't think many people have even associated their mind to being a garden. But since I was little, I thought that my thoughts are like a plant. Like, when I would be sad, and I would be sad about many things that happened to me, like we're all kids, like I said, we all have different types of lives. We all suffer, some have traumatic experiences, all sorts of things. And how we go through these things and develop, and how we carry ourselves, and what we do with these memories and things, that some of them have been they could be so horrific that it takes away from our childhood, our innocence, and such things. But hopefully, I hope that we all have, an adult or someone that we could come and trust. And if we don't have that, we can go within us. But not many people know this, and this is why I'm speaking. So if you have no one, if you feel that you have no one, you have yourselves. And I'm telling you guys, there's a beautiful adage from Rumi, one of my favorite poets, that I heard about him when I was little, also when I went to nun school. And her name was Sor Petronilla. She spoke of him, and that was the first time I was introduced to his poetry. And something about that, if you seek God, if you're looking for yourself, if you're trying to find yourself, you will find God. And if you find God, you will find yourself. I always loved that. To think that we humans have this great power, but before even to get to that, to understand what we're made of, to understand thought, to take it apart, and then, like, when you are, like, for example, a recipe, you're going to create bread, and you need the ingredients. You need yeast, flour, salt, and the flour, and then the liquid. Anything in life, there's a process, and there are ingredients for us. We're taught by nature. The seasons were taught by the animal kingdom. we're taught by the stars. Oh my gosh, you guys, I could just, I know that I'm deep, and I know that sometimes people, they've actually told me, I can't stand this, I gotta go. And I don't go around talking, blabbing away like this, but this is why I want to say that I've kept myself quiet for many, 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 many years. And now it's necessary because I have been asked to do this by a higher power, and I feel that a responsibility for me to be here, and I'm doing this with love and taking my time to do this. I'm not a professional by no means. I'm actually a Jane of all trades, but I know that creativity is intelligence having fun. So this is what I want to say. We are creative beings, and it's up to you to create. You can create or you can uncreate. You can have a fun life or you can have a boring life, and it's not all about money. Because some people that have no money, they have the funnest and the happiest lives, and people that have a lot of money, they're miserable and they don't know what to do with themselves. So it's all what we think here and what we feel here. My grandmother, a very wise woman, told me many, many, many years ago. She would point to the mountain and said, Vivi, look up there. Look at the mountain up there. There, you think God is up in the mountain? And she would say, no. Look at that church? No. And she would take my hand to my heart and say, He lives here. The Creator lives here. I've never really thought that the Creator was a man per se. I've always felt since little, because if feminine and masculine, these are two energies, I don't know how I knew this when I was little. I understood this concept that because all of us have both male and female within us. So I've always thought that God was both mother and father to me. So I have created my own idea of what God is for me, and that has worked for me. So we can do, I feel, you can do what you feel that's right for you. I have, all the years of my life I've tried to find myself, and I will continue to tell you now my story. When we lived in Chicago and I had to learn, we need to learn to speak English. We went to, when we lived in South America, we had a British teacher, and I spoke with a very thick British accent, like haunt and all that, and no one understood a damn word I said when we came to Chicago. And we were going to a regular school with all sorts of children of all colors, and it was very, very different than what I was used to in Chile. So I learned sometimes in the hard way that it was difficult to maintain myself focused because I needed to speak this language. My parents instigated for us to continue writing to our grandparents and family in Chile weekly so that we can maintain our language and our grammar. And we did. I noticed my parents, they changed. There were changes with my parents, and because I was the oldest, a lot was required from me, so I had to learn how to cook from a very young age. And it was hard for me, not the cooking part, but the responsibility part, and being entrusted with my siblings. When my parents had to work, my mother had never really worked in Chile like she did in Chicago, and it was difficult to see her come home so late and tired, and they worked so hard for us to try to give us a good education and a better future. I remember when I was 15 years of age, I was in the high school, and they were teaching us, our teacher, it was a physics class, and I remember that the teacher was speaking about atoms and how the atom works, and so he did this formula in the board, and then he tried to explain to us. So he asked each one person from each of the lines to come up, and he would explain it, and then he wanted us to do something with it. It made absolute no sense to me, and I was so like, oh no, I was in tears because numbers didn't make. I had dyslexia with numbers when I was little, and I would see them sometimes backwards, and sometimes I couldn't even add them up because it didn't make sense here, and I couldn't understand why. I did very well in writing and in reading, but numbers, it was like, and it hurt me because I wanted to learn. I wanted to be good with numbers. I wanted to excel. So anyway, I was so humiliated because I could not for the life of me explain how the atom worked and the nucleus and all that. When I got home, I remember, because I talked to my creator always 24/7. I went to bed, and when I turned the lights off, I was speaking to him, and I cried myself to sleep because I did not understand this concept of in physics, how the atom works. Okay, so I had this dream, I guess, and I cried myself to sleep because I remember that I cried very much. I was very sad. So I had this dream, and I was in the night. It was pitch dark, and I was very up high above, like in the sky somewhere. And then when I looked, I was a very tiny being, like about this little. And then I always say perched, like the birds perch themselves, but I was kind of perched. I was standing on the shoulder of a great, great, gigantic being, and I looked to the side, and this being had a beautiful, beautiful features, and the hair. It was night, so I couldn't see like bright colors, but it was a gigantic being with a beautiful, beautiful, deep, manly voice. And I just saw his profile, and it reminded me one of those beautiful statues in Rome or in Greece. And then I thought, oh, this must be God. And I was just very quiet, but I heard him speak like I'm speaking to you vocally, but I also heard it in my mind. And this is what he relayed to me. And I saw in front of me his hands like this, both hands, and they were like this. And then he said, this is all you need to concern yourself with, Viviana. And then as he did this, right here appeared a round, but not quite round. You know how the form of the atom is? You know how the atom is formed? And then it cracked in half. So there was a half here and a half here. And then right in the center here was, when the candle, and you lit a candle and you see the beautiful fire that comes in, it's kind of like a bluish iridescent blue and purple, the fire that comes from the color of the light of the flame. Well, this was it cracked like this open. The center is this flame, and then this creator said to me, God said to me, this is all you need to concern yourself with. The atom, the nucleus of the atom that creates all things is love. Don't worry about the numbers. And he said it 3 times. Viviana, don't worry about the numbers. Don't worry about the numbers. And I was like, what? And then I saw in the sky a huge, like it was a huge TV. Okay? I mean, the biggest TV I've ever seen. And then I started seeing like a piece of material, like a cloth, a drop of water, a child, a leaf, a cat, air. It did like this, like air, fruit, fire, everything in the universe. And it was like thousands and thousands of images. I was told everything was created with the atom, and the nucleus of it that creates it is love. So everything is created with what? With love. So that was kind of like one of my first remembrance of this relationship that I've had with my creator. Before, when I was little, I have to tell you that I was not just having dreams. I lived there. I I don't know how to explain it, but uh, when I went to sleep, when I would go to sleep, uh, it would be like if I went from one room to another room, and I would be in another beautiful place where there were beautiful trees, and if I wanted to pick a flower, and the flowers talked, and it was all magical. So I would go to heaven. This is what I called it, and I've never really shared those experiences, and I wrote some of it down because I was so little, but I don't have vague memory of it, but I do have memory of it. But I never, when I was like so tiny, I didn't write. My youngest memory that I have of myself was crossing a street that was really busy. If you think of the busiest street that where you live, a little girl of probably 3 years old with a brand new dress, and I wanted to show everyone my brand new dress, and I was doing like this, walking, oh look, my new dress, and all the cars beep 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 beep, the horns going crazy, and my aunt was almost livid, she almost passed out because I could have been run over by a truck or cars or whatever. And nowadays it would be like a tiny street, but at that time it was like the busiest street at that time in there, so it was dangerous. But I've always been the type of a person that has no fear. I'm very like fearless. I'm very adventurous at heart, and I like to do different things, and like I've tried bungee jumping and all kinds of things like that. But okay, so to continue this, I continue to, while in high school, one day I was waiting for the bus with my friend. We had actually just barely moved from an apartment that we lived with my parents to another place, and we would take the bus home, and we were standing waiting for the bus. We were eating an ice cream. I was 15 at that time, and I remember that someone said duck in. I had no idea what that meant, but my friend was standing next to me eating an ice cream as I was eating an ice cream, and someone pushed me from behind me. But when they pushed me, when I landed on the ground, there was no one behind me. What happened, someone drove past and they started shooting, and they shot my friend, they shot other kids. There was blood in different places, and it was the biggest shock of my life because I have never seen anything like that. When I saw the blood protruding from her back, and I had ice cream all over my face, and I could not understand how from behind me there was not a person, there was no one behind me. So who pushed me? I can only say an angel pushed me because I didn't see anyone. That was one of the horrible experiences that I had when I lived there, and other things have happened to me that I was protected. I went to a friend's party one time, and my friends, they offered me wine. I had never, we drank that tiny little glass like that for the holidays with my grandparents, but there was no alcohol in our home. And so everyone was doing marijuana at the time, and they were doing, the joints, and they were drinking, and some of them were drunk, and there was people having sex there all over the place. And I remember that there was someone that was trying to come after me, and I was very afraid. So I started talking to God and asked him to help me, and I couldn't get out of there because our home, I couldn't call my parents. My dad, my mom would kill me. So I asked for help, and there was a sofa in a corner that went like this, and on top of the sofa there were lots of blankets, and I was told jump there. As soon as I heard that in my mind, I jumped, and I took all the covers and I covered myself so no one could see me, no one could observe where I was at. So I did this, and so not to hear the noises and the sounds and things from outside, and I guess I fell asleep. The following day I could hear my friends, where's Vivi, where's Viviana, where is she? And then I woke up, of course, and then they saw me that I was there. So I know that I was protected and nothing happened to me because I was told to go and hide there. And many things have happened in my life that I have been protected physically, and also I feel spiritually, um, due to, I feel, because I have developed this faith and this understanding that I'm not alone in this world. Um, and this gives me like a peace of mind, and it gives me a joy that I cannot explain in words. I well, I can just tell you that I'm grateful. I was I need to tell you, because it's very important to tell you what happened to me, so that I can tell you of the different things that have happened during all these years. I'm just kind of jumping a little bit here and there. So when we were around, when I was, hold on, around 16 years old, I think, my parents, my parents, they wanted to buy a home in a place called Elgin, Illinois, further than where we lived in Chicago, to get away from the city and all the problems. And my brother also had problems in school because he didn't want to become a member of any gang, and they were pressuring him. And I got beat up a couple of times because I was wearing the different colors that I wasn't supposed to wear, and I didn't know. So these things happened. So my parents, we moved to Utah. I will tell you that story about how we got to Utah. I normally don't want to say where we're at, but it's already, Utah's a big place. Southern Utah, you could say. I love Southern Utah, it's wonderful. Anyway, I must tell you that this journey that has been taking me to a higher consciousness of understanding of myself and of the world, and of what my role is as a human being here on the earth. I'm not just taking space. Because I used to think that I'm just taking space and I'm just here for whatever reason. But once I started to discover that there's more to life, so much more, when we surrender to ourselves. And when I say surrender, the word surrender makes you think, oh, you're all humbled and all ground, in the ground, and all destroyed pretty much. Well, sometimes life takes you through the ringer,